To make a baby or not to make a baby? Dear men and women of Reddit, I'm in a loving, great, adventurous relationship with the man of my dreams. I know, too cheesy, and being in our early 30s, the baby question is coming our way regularly. I've never really felt my biological clock ticking. I like kids and I enjoy being around them, but never had the overwhelming feeling that I need to have a family to be complete. On the other hand, I've never said a hard no to having kids. I'm kinda yo-yo about motherhood. I can't seem to make a decision. I always thought it would be good if I had an accident, so I wouldn't have to make a choice. My partner in crime would like kids, but due to several medical conditions we already know it won't happen naturally or accidentally. So that means we would have to go the medical route. Which is a long and difficult road to travel as a couple. That doesn't make it easier to make a decision. He knows how I think about it and would accept and respect any choice I make. But he would like for me to make up my mind on this. So I wonder, people of Reddit, were you doubtful about having kids? How did you come to a decision? Were there regrets? I would just like to hear if there are kindred doubtful spirits and read your stories. So I can try to make this big decision. Thank you. My thought is that if you're open to an accident, then your heart knows what it wants. But you have to consider how much of your adventurous life changes with a small human involved. I was a fence-sitter and rather ambivalent until I got married at 33 to a man who already had kids and a vasectomy. We thought about doing the IVF route, but we were so close to being done having kids in the house, and kids are expensive. Also, fostering, volunteering, there are a lot of ways to have kids in your life and make a difference without having biological children of your own. I identify as child-free by choice, but had the ducks lined up at a certain time, I probably would have. I'm just so glad I didn't. Only you two can decide how to move forward, but there's a lot more to it than just getting pregnant. That will be a big expense for you, but it doesn't stop there. Having kids is life-changing. If it's not 100% yes, it's a no. I had my tubes tied because I like kids, but I'm not willing to give up my life, lifestyle, career, money, and sleep for kids. If you know in your heart you want kids, would be okay with taking care of a child with disabilities all your life if it happens, and are completely okay with becoming a single parent if your partner were to leave you, then you should have a kid. I'd check out parenting or something similar. Might get better answers there. I'm of the mind that you shouldn't be maybe on having a kid. I believe you should be fully yes or no since they are full commitment. Additionally, since you said it won't happen naturally, have you discussed how much money or effort you are willing to put in for procedures or trials? I imagine anything medically assisted will come with costs. I had a complete hysterectomy at 25. No BC for 5 years. Was never meant to be, and I am beyond grateful. Have you seen the mess this world is? Some things to think out. Are you prepared to raise a child alone? Is your partner? Divorce and death happens, are you prepared for a special needs child? Do you have the resources to take care of a disabled child for life? Babies can be cute. But it doesn't always go as you plan. There is a whole subreddit dedicated to this, I recommend you check it out. Fence-sitter. You know the thing about kids is, they don't stay as kids forever. If you manage to be half a decent parent, you actually end up making your own best friend for life. I don't think I'd be able to answer your question, but I have kids and have no regrets about it. It is only up to you. However, I'll give you my story. I was generally indifferent to kids. I didn't hate kids but wasn't dying to have them. As we got older, my wife started wanting a baby. There was no pressure or anything. My logic was that my life was great and was worried a kid would ruin that. We ended up going for it because I wanted to spend the rest of my life with my partner no matter what. It is very scary, life-changing and generally irreversible. I was only 70–80% at most in favor of kids. 2 years later and I absolutely love my son. If I had to go back in time and choose again, it would always be to have him. Life is different but better. When we decided to have kids, I agreed to 1 kid and my wife agreed that if I only wanted 1 she would accept that. I wanted kids. Turned out to be much less enjoyable than I thought. I love them, and I could do it all over again. I'd probably still have kids because I think it's something that I'd be missing out on if I never did it, but it's 90% shit and the other 10% doesn't make up for the 90%. But some people seem to love being a parent. If you believe them, so who knows? It's a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of frustration, a lot of pressure, and a lot less freedom to enjoy your life. I always wanted to get married and have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I didn't meet my wife until I was 33 and we got married when I was 35. Given my wife is 9 months older than me, we didn't wait too long to get pregnant. My daughter was born when I was 36 and my son when I was 39. I absolutely do not regret having kids. I regret not being as involved in their lives when my daughter was around 11–15, which was in 2008–2012. But I don't regret being a dad. I'm a parent and being a parent is hard. Sleepless nights, no self-care time, a kid who goes around saying mama all day long. But it's all 100% worth it. It's a different kind of love you feel for your kids. If you don't have kids then you really won't ever miss it. But once you experience it, it's honestly amazing. When in doubt, don't. You can always go forward, you can never go backwards. And you could always adopt, it doesn't have to be the medical route. I was ambivalent about kids until around 30 and then dear God, the clock started ticking. My husband was not sure at all but recognized that it was a deal-breaker for me at that point and agreed. We both absolutely love being parents. It's hard at times, of course, but for us absolutely worth it. My 2 closest friends are child-free by choice and are perfectly happy with that choice. It will definitely drastically change your life if you do. Don't do it unless you are willing to make kids the main focus in your life for many years. I have no regrets at all. Feel free to DM if you have any questions. Check out the book, The Baby Decision. I was thinking through this question for myself a couple years ago, and found it incredibly helpful. I am an IVF baby who was born in 1999. I really like my life and I would 10 out of 10 recommend. My parents prayed heavily and consulted every book, blog they could find to be sure they wanted children, this path in life. Note, I also cost $10K, and I am now one of 4 girls. 3 of us are IVF. It's always a no until it's a 100% yes. Making a decision like this while having doubts can make those doubts resurface after having kids and can ruin relationships. Luckily you're in a relationship where you're as fine either, so that takes off the stress of your partner potentially leaving you because of your decision, but I would always say no unless you know 1,000,000% you want kids. Personally, if you're on the fence, the answer is no. Only have a baby if you're sure you want one. You don't need to soul search. How do you feel about raising a child on your own? Like what if your current partner wasn't involved at all? None of us have a crystal ball. You really never know how pregnancy, birth and parenting will go. You also have never been a parent with your partner, it's different. It will bring out the worst and best in both of you. Lots of people think their partners would be wonderful parents, until they're not. I was widowed at 26 with a small child. Next relationship was great, accidentally pregnant but all was well, until some ugly mental health issues swallowed him whole. I never ever saw myself here, but here I am. And the kids are here too. I don't regret them, but parenthood can throw some twisters your way. I'm a hard no. I'm 27, very happy in my love life. Kids are overrated. Humans only had them because their lives were harder and shorter. We are post-gender role age, in which our grandparents and parents put that old school pressure on us to have kids because that's all they knew really. My mom had me and my older bro at 21 and 23, which is young. She argued it wasn't, but it really is. No one really has it together at 21, and it's your wonderful golden years. You're attractive, youthful, full of vigor and really just a big-ass kid. What's the hurry? What's the point ultimately? Flip a coin. Heads, yes baby. Tails, no baby. Then see if you're disappointed with the outcome and it'll tell you what you really want. I had no intention of having kids growing up, just couldn't see the appeal. In my mid-30s I finally got married and we gave it a shot, only to find out I couldn't anyway. That urge had already faded, so I definitely feel like I dodged a bullet and my first instinct was the correct one. I definitely want children with no success as yet due to medical issues on my part versus my husband. Fertility treatments can be difficult physically and emotionally depending on exactly what would be needed. I consider it worth trying, but not everyone does. I don't know where you live, but Resolve is the infertility organization in the US and offer a lot of resources online that could help you consider everything plus support should you choose to move forward. There's also a lot of accounts on every social media platform. My ex-wife and I had a similar life as you described, happy, deliriously in love without the traveling for almost a decade. I didn't want kids and she was so-so but couldn't naturally, accidentally as you described. After several years her sister got separated and came to stay with us for a year and she had a 1-year-old. My wife at the time maternal instincts kicked and it overwhelmed her. We went to counseling and stuff but after a year her need to have a baby was too strong and we ended up divorcing because of this. Don't underestimate your yo-yo about this from both sides, cause it could creep up when you least expect it. I am going to tell you this right now, as the mother of a special needs child, if you are not 100% sure you want kids, don't. Seriously. I could write you an essay. Children are not a lifestyle choice, they're not pets, and they are not predictable. What to expect when you're expecting should include velociraptors. I always thought I would want kids a few years down the track and then every few years my review would yield the same result, push it back. I'm 29 now and I have no interest in having kids at all. My partner 24F of 4 years comes from a family that is all about family, but she doesn't want kids either. We basically considered the affect on our lifestyles, finances and careers and came to decide no, we don't want kids even if we had a ridiculous amount of money, we're just not excited about the idea at all. Currently we're considering either her getting tubes tied or me getting the snip. I think you should since you are open to and wish a unplanned pregnancy would happen to you want the kid. I did have a accident my wasn't planned at all but it was okay because I was open to the idea. Knew I wanted one day. I knew since I was in middle school. I also knew when I found the right person to actually have a kid with. We talked about it and both agreed we would have children, at some point. Some point ended up a week after the very first time we went without protection but clearly it was meant to be. I wasn't planning her that soon but I did want one so I made it work. Wife and I were 100% against having kids, but the deeper in love we fell, the more we wanted to create something together, the best I can put it. Baby is a few months old now, and although it's tiring, I have sleep apnea too and stressful at time, we wouldn't change it for the world. How do you and your partner feel about adoption or fostering? Lots of kids that need loving, healthy, stable homes to thrive and grow in. That way you wouldn't have to go through the long, difficult, stressful and expensive process of the medical route. And you can plan it better for a child of any age. Personally I tell any prospective partner straight up I want family and kids. If they don't want to make them that's fine, I'll accept adoption and foster. Even if I have biological kids I still want to adopt or foster. My Mo was in and out of the system for years, and met multiple kids in the system who say it's absolute hell and want out but probably want cause once you're in you're likely not gonna get out. Older you get those chances get even slimmer. I wasn't all that interested in kids until after I returned from Iraq. All my perspectives changed. Life is short and I was getting older. I had already had a lot of adventures and wanted something more permanent and fundamentally primal. My girlfriend of the time decided she preferred drinking and partying. We split up. I met my wife at 39. I now have 2 boys, one natural, 6, the other adopted, 1.5. They are the 2 most wonderful little people on earth and I can't get enough of them, even when I've had enough of them. I suggest looking into adoption too. The fact is, unless there is something very wrong with you, you will most likely love your children unreservedly. I wouldn't worry about that. And yes, it is an adventure. Fence Sitters is great for this. The book The Baby Decision is also often recommended for this issue. Good luck. Why not try fostering if you're on the fence? You would be taking care of kids who need an adult in their lives and you could decide if it's worth it. Don't get me wrong, fostering is much different than having your own. It can help you see what is required to have kids. Added bonus, if you find it rewarding, you could look into adoption instead of going the medical route to have biological kids. I personally don't want kids, but that has always been a hard limit for me. However, looking at my friends who had kids because they enthusiastically wanted them, and friends who had kids just because if you are not 100% sure, don't do it. You can't take kids back if you realize it's not a good fit. Check out Fence Sitter Parenting Childfree and One and Done. Copulate. Don't populate. To not have a baby. That is the answer. I have the same thought. I am 32F and 80% of me says no to having a child. Maybe before I reach my late 30s I might have IVF, but I also have a low chance due to health condition, so it really affects my decision to have a baby. I hope you find your answer soon. Children are a blessing. Being a father is probably the most important thing I'll ever do. Definitely one of my favorite. Kids are so much fun. If you open your mind a little bit you learn as much as you teach. Infants require more but they're still worth it, lol. In my life I never planned my children. If I did I'd never have them because I'll never be ready. It's Vina. Well, here we go. But if it was only through choice I would choose to have them. I hadn't given it any thought and then out of the blue we were going to have a baby. I can't believe I left it up to fate as this has been the most wonderful experience of my life. My feeling is that if you want a baby, family life, and all the changes that come with that, you really want it. The tone of your post reads like a pleasant alternate reality daydream instead of a goal you want to work towards. Parenthood is a huge and essentially irrevocable life choice. Do you look forward to parenthood, school runs, sport activities, hosting sleepovers, teaching your teen to drive? Does anything about it excite or interest you? For myself, I think that if I'm stuck on the fence about something, I'm more against the choice than for it. Maybe fostering would be good for you too. My state has a photo listing of available children. Sometimes I look and it breaks my heart. If you're not set on biological kids, I suggest taking a peek at what your other options are. I was in the same boat with the next big adventure. I had no idea how much of a toll it would take on my career, hobbies, and social life and how chronically tired I am now. My son is 7 now and I love him with all of my heart, but I wish I'd have known. I am a single mom, though too, by choice, but it's 75% dishes, laundry, feeding, cleaning, chasing, keeping them safe and 25% "aw so sweet" and 0% you time for the first 5 years, and I am being generous. Just be aware of that. Have a good support system, especially if you are on the fence. And don't buy into the Hallmark kids on TV. Non-existent. But, I love him with all my heart, he's a lil rockstar. I said for a long time that I wasn't going to have kids because I was terrified of passing on a hereditary disease that I inherited from my mother. I hated how awful it made my life even with such a mild form. I don't know when my mind changed, but in the last years my partner and I decided we'd start trying and after a few months I was pregnant. It was probably a combination all my cousins having babies and passing 30. I love kids, but I always felt like I wasn't given that motherly, nurturing gene until my baby was born. I did not plan the first one, or the last one. Middle one was planned. There is a lot that comes with becoming a parent, that's for sure. Some believe it's extreme fulfilling, others not. Consider your career, your finances and future desires. Do you plan to travel a lot? Move around? Sometimes you'll be able to do what you want, other times you won't because your children have to come first. One of my friends had to go the medical route, but it was in their late 30s. So depending on how old you both are, you do have some time, but I am not a doctor so verify such. I always thought I didn't want to have kids and was never a kid person. My partner was up in the air but probably wanted kids later, late 30s, after we both had enough fun with traveling. We're both also in our early 30s. We ended up getting pregnant accidentally last year, but it ended in a miscarriage. That's what changed both of our minds. Now I'm 24 weeks along with our rainbow baby, and I'm already loving my son. Good luck with whatever you decide. I would say no for now. Please only have kids if you are prepared to accept the responsibility and are confident you would raise them well. I never wanted children. Couldn't even imagine being a mother. I'd never been around kids and really didn't care for them. October 2019 I got pregnant from a one-night stand, who has since proved to be a worthless human. However, my 7-month-old is the absolute love of my life. I truly couldn't imagine my life without her. It's a whole different kind of love I never imagined. That being said, it does change every aspect about your life. Finances, freedom, anxieties, everything. There isn't a wrong path, just a lot of things to consider. If you really want kids adoption or just volunteer at a school or something on that order, your medical and age could complicate more things. Folded hands, full score. Take your time. I think it's important to weigh in how the state of the world is right now and if it's a good place to bring a child into. I would personally wait until there was at least a light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic shit because this is a strange and alien place to grow up right now. Depending on where you live as well, I guess. If you sometimes wish you get pregnant on accident, then you do want a baby. It's like flipping a coin when you can't make a decision, you're not really leaving it up to the coin. It's what you hope for while the coin is in the air. I read somewhere that you only know what you truly want when the ability to choose is taken from you. I think raising a child with the love of your life is a wonderful thing, but of course you have to be prepared with the risks it comes with. Best of luck with whatever you decide to do.